We're talking everything task finale, including Grasso's last stand. Can Tom's family finally heal? The actual final standoff? What happened to all that money? Tying up all the loose ends on the next episode of Unbinged starting now. Welcome to Unbinged, the podcast where we break down the shows and movies you love to binge. I'm Sam Holt, joined as always by my co-hosts, Jagger May and Matt Kaufhammer. We've got plenty to cover, but I don't want to miss the spoiler warning because there is a lot in this finale. Jag, take it away.
This is your one and only warning that we're about to spoil everything that happened on Task. Fun fact, I don't think it's a happy ending for everybody.
I don't know. I feel like we can debate that this week, but I want to talk about Grasso's last stand. Really felt like the finale was a little bit of all about him, but in a good way, at least the way that I was looking at it. To begin the show, I want to talk about how Grasso states that he wants to come clean. First 10 minutes of the episode, he wants to come clean. He wants to go to the cops and tell them what he's been doing. He even goes and confesses to his sister what he's been doing. Koff, I want to take this first one to you. Is Grasso just super naive to begin this episode?
I don't think it's naivety. I think it's more he is so overridden with guilt over what happened to Lizzie that he cannot find a way to continue unless he comes clean. And we've seen this when he was talking to Tom last week, and all the questions about penance and forgiveness and confession and really all the questions that he's had for Tom throughout this series about God and the afterlife. Like, I think this has been kind of shown to us in a way that this was the natural progression for his character. And so to start the episode with him going to his sister and be like, hey, I want you to hear it from me first. Some shit's going to come out. I did the wrong thing, but for reasons that I thought were right? Like, he wanted to help his mom, help his sister and his nephews. Like, he's going about it the wrong way, but he's trying to do the right thing. And so I think that's been indicative of his character throughout this entire series, where he does continuously the wrong thing, but for the right reasons. And so really his character makes us question, like, what end or do the ends justify the means? And so I don't think it's naivety. I think it just is guilt. He is so guilt-ridden, and with his Catholic upbringing, his only way forward for himself to continue to live with himself is to confess. And so he starts with his family, and then he's ready to go to the cops, and then things, go off the rails when his captain comes and shows up. But I definitely think it's more guilt than anything.
Jagger, I want to give you the same question too.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like, I agree with Koff that I don't think it's guilt. And if anything, I think that this episode did a good job is that, like, there's 100 Robbies in this county that are just surviving in silence is what it felt like. He basically was in the same boat as Robbie. He's just a lot more competent at keeping his shit together. He's not like stealing kids or doing bad stuff. He's like, I need to take care of my mom. I need to take care of my sister. I need to take care of my people. This isn't going to happen on a county cop's salary. So this is the only way. We've kept talking about this throughout this entire season together, that this is what is called a trap, and a trap for a reason. And I don't mean what white kids call fucking trance music. I mean an actual trap where you can't really escape from this area because education sucks. You can't even afford education because you can't stay in school because your family's poor half the time. And then if you are going to do education, what are you actually going to do with that job because you have to move? Fun fact, you live in a poor neighborhood, so for you trying to move out of that neighborhood, you're going to have to go to a place that has a higher cost of living, which is impossible. I'm literally describing Arkansas. So that's just like, I get it, man. I get it. And if anything, he was doing the only thing he could do to live with himself. Like you said, Koff, he just wanted to live with himself. So,
yeah, I think you guys both really nailed it in terms of Grasso dealing with all of this guilt. And I love that you pointed it out, Jagger, too, that all season long he's been asking these questions back and forth to Tom, trying to probably justify what he's been doing up until this point, or trying to find ways to make himself feel better. And I mean, I want to get to this next part because I feel like it's again a big part of his character as we round out this finale. But I want to know how you guys feel about Grasso possibly redeeming himself, or maybe even getting some of that penance that he's been so deeply asking for. One, in terms of taking the initiative to go and warn Maeve after the shootout in his house, where, his captain was shot by the lead of the biker gang while he shot the biker gang captain, and then he shot
Vincent.
him.
Yep.
It was quite a Spider-Man moment of shooting back and forth, except everyone pulled the trigger.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that I think he's redeemed himself as much as he can. You can't bring back Lizzie at this point. And to be fair, it wasn't directly his fault, albeit indirectly by
I will argue
causing such a.
I'll argue the opposite.
an
It
argument.
is directly his fault. Yeah, it is directly. Every action that he took led to Lizzie's death. He may not have been the one to run her over, but he put her in the position to be there to get run over. So from everything from informing the Dark Hearts to pulling the trigger next to her head, making her literally deaf in that moment and bursting her eardrum. Like, you cannot say he has no direct involvement in her death, unfortunately. And that's,
The
I think,
only
is
part
what
I argue
eats him
bad
away.
is shooting her in the ear. She could, if he didn't shoot her, if he didn't shoot like that, she would have died. So let's let's give credit
True.
there. Like,
Yeah.
it was
One thing
hearing
after another.
or getting unalived. So I think I would rather give.
He
up
could have
my
pushed her
hearing.
out of the way.
But to be fair, it probably would have been a more honorable death if she would have got shot. But that's not the debate here. I just think that
Fair.
he did what he could, even if it was too late. And it's not like he could have easily just sat there and like episode 6 where he's just angrily smoking a cigarette. And he's just like, like that. You can't prove it. He could have just been mad the whole time, and he didn't. And I think him understanding himself and why he chose to make those actions was the same motivator for him to come clean for those actions. He's like, I'm a family dude. I'm not. It's like his sister said, I know who you are, regardless of what happened. And he does too. And him not coming clean after all of that was him being true to himself. So there's no such thing as 100% forgiveness in this world or 100% being absolved. But I think that we could at least have that conversation about forgiveness. Really, you got to think that this whole season of television, the theme is forgiveness.
Yeah.
Robbie couldn't forgive a biker gang, and that started an entire chain of. Actually, let's go back. Jayson couldn't forgive Robbie's brother, and that
Billy.
started off this chain of fucked that we have now. So,
Yep. That is the original sin.
yes.
Koff, same question for you in terms of Grasso redeeming himself in this one, not only by going to warn Maeve that the Dark Hearts were coming, but also by putting himself in the situation to take the final shot on Jayson. Thankfully, Robbie's daughter was smart enough to go and see a cop car and try and go warn the police officer. That entire time I was terrified she was going to get shot, but I'll leave that to the side for now. I want to talk about Grasso.
Yeah, I was terrified for Harper. I'm glad she survived. Well, obviously in the eyes of the law, Grasso did not redeem himself, but in the eyes of us, the viewers, and even the characters within the show, I think he did enough. Like, I think Aaliyah and Tom especially saw what he did and were like, okay, he fucked up. He was a rat, but at the end of the day, he did the right thing. Yeah. So I think that also kind of lent itself to, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but Tom letting Maeve keep the money because he saw how fucked this entire situation was. He's like, look, if I can let the kids get out of this with at least a little bit of hope, maybe things will be okay. And I think it's because of Grasso's actions of, taking out Jayson there at the end that helped give Tom that moment of like, all right, it may not be above board on the law side, but at least this way we can get Maeve, get the kids somewhere out of this situation and hopefully in a better life. So I think Grasso proved enough to his colleagues there on the ground that he was willing to, at his own risk, to do the right thing. So yeah, in the eyes of the law, no, but in the eyes of everyone else, I think yes, he redeemed himself.
Yeah.
Well, the law at this point in this area, that's what the fuck is it?
I know there's so many dirty cops. What is the law? I mean, is it just to continue to allow the Dark Hearts to operate, or is it really trying to crack them down? But before we go into all of that, because there's plenty more to talk about with regard to the Dark Hearts, Perry, Jayson, and his rage, I want to get to all of that. But first, something exciting for our viewers and listeners. Guys, we really appreciate how much you've been tuning in and not only watching all of our episodes and listening, but you guys have been leaving some amazing reviews. We really appreciate it. I want to give back to you guys because we have so many more shows to cover. We've got gift cards for you. So if you listen over on Apple Podcasts, please submit a review. Give us any opinion of our show, let alone what we're covering. So if you have different opinions on what's happened in Task, please go ahead and leave that in the review. Same thing everywhere else you get your podcast. Please give us a 5-star review and give us your best theory. And we will go ahead and be sending you guys the pick the best one and get you a gift card. Plenty more shows coming up as well. We're talking Task here. We've got Gen V, Landman, Welcome to Derry is coming up so soon. I cannot wait. Stranger Things, Fallout, and a lot more. So, guys, please go ahead and leave those reviews. We really appreciate it. All right. Want to get to this next part of the topic because it was kind of what we were talking about a minute ago. But in terms of justice, we all wanted some level of justice last week. I think we ended last week's show saying what we all wanted to happen. And we kind of all got little parts of everything across all of our theories and guesses and desires and wishes. We have lots of bikers and lots of crooked cops that all got theirs. I want to talk about Perry's demise, getting shanked in the river and dumped for dead naked. Jag, this one's going to go to you. How did you feel about Perry and his character getting wrapped up this way? He first tried to protect Jayson. You could tell he was going to protect him, and then he ended up getting shanked by him.
I just have a lot of questions about Perry and Jason's relationship. Like, did they, what is it, father son? You know, do they touch tips sometimes? Like, what is it? Because like he's had every opportunity to do something, and he hasn't, and he died. I Is it safe to say, I wouldn't say horrific, because like there's a lot of horrific deaths, but like embarrassing. I don't want to die bathing naked in a fucking public water because I'm hiding out with my homie in a house with no shower, you know? Like, I don't know why I'm thinking about that at this point of all the things that have happened, but he definitely went out like a bitch. I'm sorry. I just gotta say it. He just went out like a bitch. And like, I borderline hate it for him. Cause like he's a bad character, but he was bad because of who he was and who he was associated with. Not so much bad as in like he's a piece of shit who betrayed his friends or anything. If anything, he tried to help Perry, or he tried to help Jayson time and time again and just didn't. Why didn't he kill him? And then on top of that, where they were just gonna kill Perry too. Yes, they were just gonna kill Perry too, and I think he knew that. I think he knew that.
But I mean, he
knew his time was
kill Aaron.
His time was up.
So yeah, I think he was counting the minutes down rather than the hours in terms of how long he had left. But Koff, for you, with regards to that scene at the cabin in the woods, how that went down. First, did you think that Perry at first was going to get rid of Jayson? Because for myself in that moment, I did think he was going to do it.
I expected Perry to take a swing or try to stab Jayson, maybe even successfully stab Jayson, and then a fight to ensue, and then knock out, drag out. Jason's younger, stronger, bigger. He get the better of Perry, but be maybe partially or mortally wounded. I thought it was going to be a longer scene. So when Perry, you know, kind of bitches out and doesn't kill Jayson, then goes and takes a bath, and then Jayson gets the phone call, I again expected a little bit longer of a scene. I thought Jayson was gonna come, take a swing, and try to like kill him with his bare hands, but they do it really, really quickly, where he just stabs him right in the ribs, gets him in the heart, and then in his dying moments, Perry, for whatever reason, and they didn't reveal it, but I still feel like my theory is correct that Jayson may have been his bastard son, even in his dying breath, when he knows that Jayson is the one that stabbed him in the heart. He still gives Jayson a warning. They're coming. Get the fuck out. So it was satisfying that Perry dies because he needed to. He, like you said, he was a bad dude. He killed Aaron. He was the mastermind behind a lot of the shit that happened because he let Jayson run rampant. So it was satisfying that he died, but I was surprised with how quickly and succinctly that scene happened. I was expecting a little bit more of a drag out.
Yeah, I knew he was going to die when he was taking that sad fucking hobo bath. I'm like, oh, he gonna get him. You know?
Dead giveaway.
Laying on his back in the river, naked.
Yeah.
Naked. Oh my gosh. Well, this scene kind of also was the catalyst to the energy shift throughout the rest of the finale, which was lighting the fire for Jason's rage. We knew that Jayson is an unhinged character in terms of how he killed Billy and how it really terrified a lot of the other dark hearts that are upset them. We got witness to that of someone striking the match on Jayson's rage when he got the phone call that Aaron had died and clearly was holding, I believe it was Perry's necklace. That was what told them it was him. I want to talk to you guys about
The
that rage
chain that
specifically and
Perry,
choices.
sorry, that's the same chain that Perry used to hit Jayson with. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
When he
his
wrapped it
punching
around his
chain.
fist and
That's
then
his.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
I was looking at them like, I know I recognize this, but I couldn't remember. And then I just remembered him being all torn up. So I thought it was from his necklace, but it does make more sense that she grabbed it from his side. But anyways,
Yep.
going back to Jayson's rage, this lighting the fire that takes us through the rest of the episode. We lost 2 more bikers with the news that went down. We also lost a dirty cop in all of this carnage. When it came to your guys' expectations for a final showdown, because I feel like we were building to even more with Jayson, the fact that he didn't go in the last episode. Koff, how did it feel for you, this setup of just the domino falling? Aaron's dead. I'm going to stab Perry. I'm going to go after this money by myself, and I don't care who I take down in the process.
Honestly, it felt more like an animal caught in a trap. Like he wasn't thinking things through. He was just trying to like chew through his own leg and then move forward. So he had he heard about the money. He's like, maybe if I get the money, maybe then either he can go on the run or get back in the graces of the Mother Club. I'm not quite sure what his motivation was there, other than get money, maybe be safe. So it felt very much like a cornered animal. Like he is just running on instinct at that point, hoping against hope that he survives. And I don't know if you guys caught this in one of the previous episodes. I think it was when they revealed that Grasso's the rat. Fabian Franklin has an interview after the show where he talks about, when they were developing these characters, he was allowed to make his own backstory. And so his backstory is that Jayson and Grasso grew up in the same area and were childhood friends. And that's one of the reasons, or how Grasso got involved with the Dark Arts. So I think it's very poetic that he was the one that killed Jayson in this episode. And you can see the surprise on Jason's face when Grasso gets his attention, then shoots him. So I think, again, Jayson was running on pure instinct. He didn't have a fully formed plan in his mind. He was just hoping that he could somehow survive. And for him to go out the way he did with his friend betraying him, his quote unquote friend, I think was poetically very nice. I think that wrapped up his character arc in a way that was satisfying for me as a viewer.
Yeah, I feel like the analogy of chewing off your own leg is pretty solid with him. Jagger, how about you?
Yeah, and this is the only time where the pure instinct makes sense for Jayson beyond just like, I'm mad, let me be mad about it and be a dude and fix my problems with fists and guns. Like, I want to. There's actually a lot of detail in this episode that I don't think gets talked about, and I kind of want to. This is still about Jayson, but I'm trying to justify Jason's actions by bringing it to talking about Grasso's captain. Because, when he met up with the Mother Club, this is, and we're going to talk about this, there's so much just not wrapped up where I need more of this little fucked up town. Because how high up is the captain where he's able to talk to this other dude, even like an equal a little bit. And he brings up, he's just like, we're not talking about the money anymore. We just need to clean this up, because the Mother Club gets it. For them, this is a portion of money. It's not all the money. And you need to cut your losses because you're at risk from the feds, from everything else. And then the captain's like, that's a lot of money just to forget about. And then that dude's just like, okay, buddy. Like, he gives them the whole, like, all right, we'll go get that money. And then how quickly homeboy just pops his ass. You got to think that this was that meme where, someone's got a gun in the back of his head and then someone else got a gun in the back and there's a sniper up here. The sniper was that the captain thought he was going to get this money, be like a hero to the bikers, and then, I don't know, he's going to get a portion of it. When all reality, him being so obsessed about that money was dragon fever, from like a book that I read on here, where like dragons see gold and that's all they give a fuck about. And the Mother Club clock that shit. I think that's an infection throughout this entire county. It's this is how poor people act, man. You got $1 million around everyone's acting stupid. That's why I have such a problem with that crackhead lady just giving up that money so easily. Like, it's just, the only person I believe would have given up that money is Tom. That's it. Tom
Mm.
just wants to not feel like shit for a day. He doesn't like $1 million isn't going to fix that problem, you know?
Yeah, $1 million isn't gonna fix that problem for sure. I feel like it was very satisfying to me because one of the things that I'd mentioned last week was that I wanted Perry to get some sort of, our level of justice, like you're saying, a viewer's justice in terms of whether he gets killed or gets put in jail. And I was really happy with how that kind of tied up. And what I think this show does really well is it doesn't hinge on one character's death and then we cut to credits and then we get another episode. They give you the meat of all of these big action points sprinkled in throughout this entire finale, which I really appreciated. I didn't want to end on like and then we build up to something and then you're stressed out and all of a sudden, okay, credits. And you're like, that's it. Like, I'm so happy that this didn't do that. And we got these big highlight moments for each character and how to tie them up, whether it was Perry in terms of getting got by Jayson, or it was Jayson getting got by Grasso, even the dirty cop getting his. I just felt like they did a good job of weaving all of these together in a way that was, a beat, a beat, a beat, and you had a moment in between to get caught up. I really liked the pacing of this finale. I feel like sometimes there can be even more slow buildup at a finale because they're trying to get another crescendo for the viewers at the end, and they didn't need to do that here. They were like, no, we've got plenty of stuff to try to wrap up, because I do agree with you guys. There's a lot of loose ends still, but it was just really fun to me that the pace of this in terms of how it went as a finale as a whole. Want to get to this next one. Jagger, this one's going to go to you first. Was it a little too predictable that Tom was going to end up giving the money to Maeve? Because there were so many shots back and forth. Even that little moment with Maeve's friend having a really great idea in terms of how to hide the money. I think there was a lot in this that made me think Maeve's going to end up with this money by the end of this. How did you feel that was tied up as a loose end?
I don't think that was predictable, and I think her friend was still naive. Like,
Mm,
they should have immediately ran. Like,
gotcha.
that should have been your
Fair.
response. And like, I don't think the cops would have found them like too hard or cared that much about Maeve at that point. But that's just my side point. But no, I don't think it was too predictable. And it's the opposite, where I felt like this is where it had to go, or even in the sense that I don't. I didn't even know that Tom or Maeve was going to survive. I never
Fair.
felt confident about that until the end of it. So by the time that she got the money, it was just relief. It wasn't like, I could have called that. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I didn't know who was going to fucking die up until that moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
like,
think that's fair.
yeah. And that's just Tom's character. Like, he's, to put like, what is it? Like the grid of where characters are, where I think he's just true lawful good, where all he just cares about is just like being a good dude. Like, he's not here to cause problems or advance himself. He's just trying to get by.
Yeah. Cough, how about you?
Yeah, I mean there was a moment where I was like, ah, crap, he found the money, he's gonna turn it in. But I think for
Mm,
his character to get to that growth point where we see him at the very end of the series, he needed to let Maeve keep that money, because he realized like the best thing for her as a 21-year-old woman with two, minors now under her care, is to give them an opportunity to have a foot up and a way out. And like we've been talking this whole series, Jagger, you mentioned it earlier in this episode, this whole town is a trap. And Tom knows that. Tom knows that if these kids are stuck in this town, what option is she going to have? To continue to be a manager at a Chuck E. Cheese? Or to give them an opportunity where they can go literally anywhere in the country, if not internationally, to start over and start new? Because Harper and Wyatt lost their dad literally a week ago. So he knows now, as a parent or a single parent of someone of kids who have lost another parent, like how that messes you up. So he found a way for himself to be the savior without doing anything quote unquote illegal. So he was able to skirt the law while still giving them the best chance for success. And I think that was an important growth moment for Tom, because as we saw by the end, he was able to, it's another step to him forgiving Ethan. So I'm happy he didn't keep the
Sure.
money, but I don't think it was predictable. I think that was really well done by the showrunners.
See, I feel like I wanted to frame the question that way because I really wanted her to have the money. Like, as soon as I knew that it was in her hands, I was like, oh, I hope that she gets this. So for me, I was looking for it and I really wanted her to get it because, as you guys call, I'm trying to be positive all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, F me. That's just how I am. But I really just wanted her to walk away with the money. And I felt like even in that last shot where it pans up and they're watching the cops arrive and Tom zips up the backpack, what did Tom do to hide that backpack? Because you've got all the ambulance coming up. You've got the rest of the cops that are going to be investigating and talking to everybody. He must have done a really good job of like shoving that under a car or something to hide it.
I'm gonna be honest. It's easy to hide shit in
I'm glad they
rural
didn't
areas
show
in the
us.
country. It's not
Sure.
that difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. That they left it and we got to find out later with
Yeah.
Kathleen, which we'll get to Kathleen later. I'm sure that you guys want to talk about her.
Like I'm so happy the Ozarks and like the South have become such a prominent setting for everything, because it's like, man, if you think it's easy to hide money, wait till you see what we do with our bodies, you know. Like, and like granted Delco is like up north, but like for real, man, it just feels like Arkansas with a different accent. I'm gonna be honest, like that, like that's it. So like to me, the hiding the money part doesn't shock me. The one thing, this is me being a nerd, and this is me showing my hand that I grew up too far in them trenches. Because how's homegirl gonna launder that money? That's a lot of money. Like ideally, you're gonna have to be a server somewhere to where you have a lot of cash that you handle. That's still not enough to do something. So like you need to start some type of cash business. And I'm not saying Maeve's stupid, but like you need to savvy up on financial crime real quick, homegirl. Like you gotta get right, you know.
Well, she seems like a fighter. I feel like I wouldn't put it past her to figure out a way to make sure that things get right for these kids, for Tom's kids and for herself as well. I mean, I definitely feel like she was the right character to end up with this second chance on life in terms of moving forward and onward out of this finale. But I want to get to something else because you'd mentioned something off a minute ago. So this question is going to go to you in terms of Tom being ready and in a place to forgive Ethan, his son. So this is another big thread that we needed wrapped up at the end of this series. Grasso in the hospital asks to get final penance from Tom. And he says, I think he phrased it even in a way like, did you ever go and give that? And Tom says, no, he never gave it because people beat themselves up enough. Was this another moment where you felt like this was, a drop in the bucket of Tom's going to forgive Ethan when they go and have this hearing?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been building up to this moment for a few episodes now. I think for me, the first sign was when he finally admits to his daughter Sarah that he is mad at Ethan, and he finally allows himself to express that anger out loud versus just letting it eat away at him. And then we saw him when Emily confronted him, and so we've been building up to this moment that I think the final straw wasn't his conversation with Grasso. I think it was his time with Sam. When he fostered Sam and he brought that joy back into his life and that feeling of being a father again. I think that's when he found the love that was always there, but he refound that love for Ethan and was able to then come to grips with, he did a terrible thing, but as he read in his statement, it was the mental illness. It was the voices inside his head that he could not control that led him to, unfortunately, killing his mom. So I think we've been building up to this moment the whole time, and I think this scene with Grasso is just another drop, like you said, drop in the bucket, and an indication that Tom was on his way to forgiving Ethan. He needed a little bit of assistance from everybody around him to get to that point.
Yeah, that's
And
very.
I want to take that and layer onto that for you, Jagger, before you even jump into it, because I got another thing I want to add on top of this question for you, because I like to give you complicated questions. I just enjoy it. And I didn't write it in the show notes, so you're welcome. On top of Tom Grasso asking for this penance and Tom having that moment with him. We then see Tom have this moment with Emily, where I think from what you just said, Koff, and how he's experiencing life with Sam and kind of relearning not just love but forgiveness and the things that are already strong in Tom as a character. And he has that moment with Emily where he says that he's going to protect her, and all of that tying in and leading into this statement he gives at the hearing. How did you feel that kind of escalate for yourself as we went towards Tom actually being the one to give the statement, Jag?
I think he he already said it to Emily. He's like, I haven't been a good dad. And I think that him doing the statement and speaking for the family was him being a dad. He's like, I'm not going to let you go up there and do this hard thing alone, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And that's what led up to it. And this is, I think, the biggest moment for Tom because as someone who hasn't had a great relationship with like both of my parents, you know, that, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that anyone out there watching or something who's had a relationship with their parents with struggle, you just want your parents to be fucking sorry about anything. A lot of times with like being an adult and especially, you know, having a relationship with someone who's been your boss and known everything, they have a hard time just being sorry. They're like, well, I'm your mom and this should just, you know, like I'm your mom. The fact that he was able to apologize and stand up, I think that's the only way he could have fully healed that with Emily and
Mm-hmm.
then thus his son. Cause like, if he would have just kind of blown off shit with Emily, all that would have happened is that Emily would have start talking shit about like when the son comes back or like when when Ethan would come home, her and Tom wouldn't been on the same team to be a support for Ethan. So I really just got to commend the character and the writing for a character for I think writing something that I feel like gives us out here a little bit of healing if we didn't get that within our own life. It's just like, finally, here's what good parenting looks like. That even though good parenting isn't that you're never going to make mistakes, it's that when you do make the mistakes, that you come back, admit that you were wrong, and you do what you can to fix them. That's good
Mm-hmm.
parenting.
Yeah, 100%. I love the way that you said that. Cuff, one more thing before we jump on to the next question because it's going to layer into it. We just talked about how Tom was able to have this discussion with Emily, and that's kind of a big healing moment for their relationship. And as that leads into the hearing, we kind of watch Sarah also having watched Tom bring in Sam and have this all these moments of recognition, and she's kind of a just watching a lot of these things. She's having some conversations but she's watching a lot. You can tell from her character in the setup a lot of these scenes she's just observing, and as she watches that relationship with Sam and what that says about her dad and therefore also about her mom, what she would have done having seen Sam and also would have brought him in, how do you feel that also kind of tied up that end for Tom and Sarah's relationship but for Sarah as well?
I think it was a nice growth moment for Sarah because she's been holding on to this anger too. Ever since her mom died, she's been
Yeah.
angry, and we saw how it affected her own marriage and her own possible
Mm-hmm.
relationship with her own child. So I think this moment with Sam, especially when she's like, he's like, "Can we get DQ?" and she goes, "Oh, I haven't had any," you know, that whole conversation bit, I thought was really telling for she is finally letting the walls come down. She's finally allowing herself to
Yeah.
open up to the people around her. She's not just, you know, throwing barbs and spikes anymore. She's allowing people to come on in and she's treating them with love and respect. So I think it was a great moment for her as a character. And she still has work to do, of course. Like it's not going to happen overnight. But I think
Yeah.
just the grace of having someone like Sam in her life and then having, you know, seeing how it affects not only Tom but also Emily, I think got her to a point where while she's in the courtroom listening to her father speak about the good times and the bad with Emily, with Ethan, with their mom, it finally broke through some of those self-imposed barriers that she kept up the entire season. And so I think it was a beautiful moment, and I want to see more of how that family comes back together, especially when Ethan does come home from, you know, what, 4, 5, 6 years from now.
Sure. I
I
think
think that it
go
shows a
ahead.
lot about. Sorry, I think that shows a
No,
lot
you're
about
good.
like emotional intelligence, a little bit about, and this is why women are so much better at it than we are. Where like a lot of times you just like need to get mad and talk about what you're upset about, and then you can kind of move past it. Because I would want to say like the healing started for Sarah when she admitted about her divorce. And
Mm,
actually hearing what Emily felt, as like Emily had to get really fucking mad and say, here's why I'm mad. Here's all the feelings that I've had for years. And that Sarah had to hear that and say, oh, hey, there's a person in front of me here that has like their whole side of things, and I'm stuck here wallowing in my own shit. Okay, here's what I have going on that I've been fixated on and not talking about it and lashing out in unhealthy ways. And I think Sam was a healthy reminder for this family of who they are, because
mm,
Tom keeps bringing back of like, here's what my wife would have done. Here's what I would like. They, this is just a really kind family where they're not thinking about, well, what are we going to do now that we have another kid? Blah, blah, blah. I guess we got to get
mhm.
another car. There's not none of that shit. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, we really need to help this person. And that's like to their roots of who they are. And I think from Sarah, Emily, from how they were raised by Tom and his wife, that's how they are. And Sam was just that good reminder that like not a lot of that other shit matters. And we just love each other and we're loving people. Let's start here. And then everything else can fix itself.
I love that. I do feel like there was a lot of that Sam as a character in this family being brought in helped heal a lot of the different things. I even felt like in a moment Sarah watching Emily help Sam put posters up or make decisions, or it probably also gave her a mirror of how she was a big sister to Emily when she first showed up at the house and how they had, so there was a lot of mirrors back and forth, I think, between these characters. And I think all of it was healing of, and coming back to the place, Jack, that you put so well in terms of this family's been raised to just be kind at heart and just be good. And you see Tom make a lot of those decisions that sometimes don't necessarily make sense, but it all comes back to this point of just coming from a place of love, and that also being something from Tom and his wife's perspective that he just instilled in this family so well.
Mm-hmm.
Taking all of those lovey feelings, I want to go into this question because we've all had a lot of very strong feelings about the kids in this entire season and not wanting any of them to have anything bad happen to them. We felt like that. How do we feel about this ending specifically for Sam in terms of how he was, we got to watch the fostering relationship between him and Tom and them gardening, and he's just kind of really blossoming into, you know, a more confident little boy, and then he's got this opportunity to go to another family. Jag, I know this is a lot to try to wrap up in a small question, but how do we feel about this ending for Sam, because we've been, all of us have been cheering for him this entire series.
As someone who, I was put in foster care at 8 years old or 5 years old and didn't get out till I was eight. I think this is the one of the better scenarios for Sam, because I don't think Tom is gonna give him up into anything to what I think is a good situation. And a lot of times what happens with these kids, they're going to foster kid mills where it's just like, we've got 10 kids because this is how I make my income. And I've got these little fuckers making like arts and crafts or some shit that I sell at church. I
Mm,
say this, guys, like this is very specific. I've seen it and I've lived it. Like this is like a
yeah,
very common fucking thing. So I think this is like the best thing to happen for Sam, where for the first time in his life, he has stability. He has someone who just wants to love him. And I think it's not even just that, but having the methods to raise him. Where a lot of people, it's not even that they don't have love, they're just poor or they don't have all the things that you need to be somewhere. And I know that's like a very materialistic way to say about raising a child, but it's true, man. Like a lot of our foster kids, they go to a bad situation to a little bit better situation, but better isn't always good. And I feel like
sure.
Sam truly went to a spot that's good.
I love that. Koff, how about you for Sam?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the most hopeful ending we could have gotten for him, and I think, like you said, Jag, Tom's not going to just give him up to the first family that says, "Hey, we'll take him." He's going to do his due diligence and vet them, especially with the resources being an FBI agent. Like I'm sure he looked into that family pretty deeply before he was like, "Okay, I'll let Sam go to that situation." And I think it was indicative when he's having the conversation with his other priest friend, where the priest is like, look, you're not in a position to give Sam, who is a growing boy, everything he needs for the rest of his life. Like you're in a very good
Yeah.
situation now where you can help him immediately, but you need to start
Yep.
focusing on what you're going to do when Ethan gets back home, because that's your first priority. So
Yeah.
allowing Sam to go to another family, I think, was again another indication of Tom's growth as a character, because he could have been selfish and be like, look, I love this kid, I'm going to keep him, and that would have been the selfish choice. But allowing him
Yeah.
to go to a family that has a mom, a dad, and a sibling now is giving, again, just like he did with Maeve and the kids and the money, he is giving Sam the best foot forward to have a successful life in the future. And so I feel very optimistic that Sam is going to grow up, and he may have some issues. Like, he was technically kidnapped, and he did have, for the first few years of his life, a pretty
He's
tumultuous
gonna have
situation.
issues. Let's just say that.
He's gonna need he's gonna need therapy for sure. But at least
Yeah.
in this scenario,
Okay.
we get the most hopeful ending for him. So I feel very good about that.
And that's
Yeah.
why I brought up the stability thing, is like that's like
Mm.
the most important thing for kids, because like Koff, you said it, when Ethan comes back, that's going to be top priority for the entire family. And Sam is going to need a couple of years to, like, I feel bad. When I was adopted, my sister got adopted at 2, so she doesn't like remember fuck all about Philippines or anything like that. When I came in, it was like, not to quote Miley Cyrus, like a wrecking ball on her life, because I needed a lot and stuff like that. So hopefully Sam is going to go to a spot where he is the focus. And I don't mean that like narcissism, but like this
Mhm.
just the truth, that kid's going to need a lot of fucking love and attention right now.
Definitely. And I definitely feel like that kind of also speaks to, Tom making the right decision and being able to give all of that, because I do feel like I loved the little moments that we had with Tom and Sam in the garden, and even with Sam and Emily and Sarah. You kind of watch him coming out of his shell, and I feel like it was a good time for him, because had Tom not taken him, he would have stayed in that detention center and he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been growing. He would have just been continuing to just go within and, just pull back, and he would have just been, I think, in a much worse situation and not better and ready to go to another family. Because we did end this season watching him happy and smiling and ready to go to this family. And clearly they've set him up in a way of not tearing him away again, but creating this, at least there's an opportunity, there was a sense of hope, it seemed like, in the entire family as this new family walked up, which I really appreciated. Before we get into the last two questions, I want to go around, because there were so many loose ends that we wanted tied up in this finale. And I do feel like all of us have something on our list in terms of what we wanted to see wrapped up. And I'll kick it around, Jagger, to you first. And I'm going to give you my loose end, and then you can add on, or you can pull something different. But my loose end that I really want to know is, and I didn't feel like we got 100% certainty on, was Kathleen actually a dirty cop, or was she just, someone that was painted in a way that we were expected to think was dirty? Because part of me feels like she still is, and she just skirted everything in this episode to keep herself safe. But that's my loose end that I still am, you know, toying with. Jagger, do you have one?
I actually didn't even think about that. That's a good yeah, I guess, yeah, I didn't consider that at all. Mine is, how far, what is the Mother Club? How far do they
Mm.
reach?
Yeah.
And how far does it go? And you've watched The Wire, right? I feel like with Mayor
I've
of
seen the first
Easttown
season.
and
I
with
need to
this,
finish it. It's still on my list.
what is it, you quit? Like, okay, that's a whole other thing.
I know.
Um,
I know. I know. I
and
know.
this, I don't want to jump ahead. I don't want to jump ahead, but I feel like the showrunners and the creators have made a really cool thing where we don't have to have direct seasons. But Delco County feels like The Wire to me. That every new season that we get of this, whether it's Mayor of Easttown or this, we get a different snapshot of Delco, and eventually we can get an entire picture of why it's the way it is, because The Wire was like that, where we saw Baltimore from the street gangs to the cops to the newspapers all the way to the politics, and every season kind of covered something different. And that's kind of want to see. Like, I know that's kind of a weird way to say it, but I just want to see more of this Mother Club and the crime and how it affects this community.
Like that. Cough, how about you? What's a loose end or thread that you didn't get tied up, or something that you want more answers because you just are left with questions?
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation as Jag. I want to see more of the Dark Hearts, especially now that we've seen the local chapter get the head cut off with Jayson and Perry now dead. How does that spiral
Mhm.
out of control? Does Donna somehow make a play for power and comes out ahead,
Ooh.
or is this like
She's a woman.
Sergeant
That's
Arms
like, that's
time?
not a thing.
Shane, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's where I want to see if they do a continuation of the story. That's what I want to see happen next. Is like, does this club collapse on itself, or does it get strung up because there's another person that puts themselves in that power vacuum? Anytime you have an organization, whether legit or not, have a disruption at the top, I'm always interested to see how it plays out. Like, what does that power vacuum look like, and how does it work out, or does it not work out? So I would be very interested to see more of the Dark Arts.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that actually, to what you pointed out too, Jagger, that it wouldn't be Donna, just because everything about this entire series, the characters of the Dark Hearts have shown us that what they really think of women, and why
Yeah.
Donna wouldn't get that, even though I feel like as viewers, it's a want that we would have, similar to how I'm like, I just want Maeve to get the money. Like, okay, Donna has been like in the background this whole time. I would want her to get hers too, but it's just not naturally fit within at least the framework of how the Dark Hearts operate as we've been shown it this season.
And to be fair, guys, I'm not being sexist. This is just
No, that's
bike
why I
gang
wanted to call it
culture.
out.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is bike gang culture. They do
Yeah.
not respect women. Like, it's not like a thing
Yeah.
for
But
them.
that's
So,
that's
Yeah.
also
Sons of Anarchy
why,
is false.
that's why I
I
think
don't know
it'd
how
be
to tell you guys.
yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe that's where
Yeah,
I'm
but then it's
getting mixed up. But I think it'd be interesting though if we
yep.
could see Donna like strong arm this group of bikers and be like, no,
Mhm.
Mama's taking control, and they all got to fall in line. Who knows?
Mama's taking good control of that kitchen.
Damn it.
I'm sorry, I had to.
No, yeah, I definitely just don't think it makes sense within the framework of the organization. I could see her continuing to. She's been the one that's just been feeding information to everyone from different points, and seeing confidence build in that from what transpired with everyone, of whoever rises to power, she goes to and says, you need me because everyone talks to me about everything. So getting some level of like in maybe, but I don't know that it necessarily gives her ultimate power, because I do agree with you, Jagger, in terms of the way
She
that
could be
the Dark
the
Hearts have operated, and we've seen that it's just not going to happen
she could be
that
the
way.
Grim of Wormtongue.
Your idea?
Yeah, power behind the power.
Yes.
I mean, that is a
Sure.
thing. Like,
Fair.
I can
Fair.
imagine that is a thing. But
Yeah.
like, as soon as someone knows that that woman is saying anything, it's like,
Yeah.
I just feel like,
Or something that they don't want to hear, something that they
yeah.
don't like. Absolutely. All right. Last two questions. Do you guys consider this a happy ending for our main characters? This whole show has been so bleak. It felt refreshing to get to have a show where a lot of things did get tidied up, in terms of we're not left with cut to black. What happened to this character? We had enough deaths that we know what happened to most of them. But do you guys feel like this was ultimately a happy ending? Cough, I'll start with you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, considering where we came from with this show and where we ended up, yeah, a lot of death happened, a lot of tumultuous things happened. But I think when you look at the growth for characters like Tom, for Aaliyah, for Maeve, I think they're all in a better place than where they started. Whether it's from a monetary situation, whether it's from a forgiveness and family situation. The only one who got like a semi not happy ending is probably Grasso, because he's ending up, shot and in prison. But I think
Mm.
from a spiritual standpoint, he is in a better place because he has learned to forgive himself and come to grips with like, I did bad shit, I need to pay
Mhm.
for that. So I think we got a
Yeah.
pretty happy ending for everybody, considering where they started and where they ended up.
Jagger, how about for you?
It was as happy as it could be to make sense. I'm
Mhm.
big on. You guys know me well enough. I don't love a happy ending because that's just not how life works. It's just not how life works. Nothing wraps up nicely into a little bow for everyone. So the fact that e- everyone who deserved what they got it is a very good ending to me. And I want to keep in
Mhm.
mind, I don't think Grasso goes to prison because he has a
Mm.
lot of information and they're going to be sending him to die. So I think he's going to spill his guts and they're going to yeet his
Witness
ass
protection.
into witness protection and
Fair.
he's going to be the one working out at Chuck E. Cheese somewhere. Like his hair dyed or something.
Yeah, with some bleach blonde tips or something and having to.
Anyone who's seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's why I said bleach blonde tips
Yeah,
because
thank
that's
you.
the
Thank
Brooklyn
you.
Nine-Nine.
Yeah, you get it.
100%. Except it's not going to be cute and fun. You're
Yeah.
just going to sit in his hot tub and, ride go-karts or whatever.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I feel like this was the happiest it could be given all the situations. I don't necessarily happy in that like everyone's riding off into the sunset. We did have Maeve getting in the car with the kids. She's off to a new future. I really personally needed to see that happen, but there's still a lot of, question marks as to what's going to happen next because we got through the shit and now we can get to something else. Like, what is life going to be like with Tom and Ethan when he does come home? We saw Tom preparing for what that's going to be like, and he has to prepare himself for that. What's Sam's life going to be like with this new family? What's Emily's life going to be like affected by Ethan coming home? To your point, Grasso, he's in the hospital as we leave him, but we know he's either going to end up in jail or, to your point, can end up in witness protection. I think there's just a lot of there's a lot for these characters future wise. They're not just happy and done, but I do feel like it wrapped up in a way that it answered the questions I needed to feel like I had some level of finality, because we know this isn't the way that this series works. And this leads into my next question. We don't get season 2, season 3. They're not building on these. We're done. This is how this show ends. And when you have a show that is a single season, I really appreciate when they can tie up enough for you that you don't feel like, well, now I do need to see second season, or because it does so well, they force a second season. This is the story that it is for the time. So with that, I want to know, what do you guys want to see next from show creator Brad Inglesby? We got a murder mystery with Mayor of Easttown and now a crime procedural type with Task. Jagger, I'll give this one to you first. What do you want to see from him next? Because I loved Mayor of Easttown and I can say I love Task. What do you want to see from him?
Like I said, I already spoiled it earlier. I want this to move like The Wire,
Okay.
where the only thing that's different is like characters end. Like this
Mm,
character's story is done. Delco County's the main character. I genuinely want to see how the newspapers view all this stuff. I know that's a
mm,
crazy look, but we've seen local cops now, county cops, and the FBI. I want to see more of the biker gang and how is just like a regular fucking person in this town. That's why I want to go to the press, where like I'm not a cop, I am
mm,
not in the drugs, I am just an observer. What is it like in Delco County just being a regular fuck that is not on either side of the law and just watching these people? Because that's how I feel in Fort Smith. I'm just a regular fuck. The cops suck. Fort Smith, Arkansas, for people out there, I'm talking like you know me. And like the crime and meth is bad. I'm just an observer. How does that person live and how are they affected by it? Because ultimately, when you live in a place like this, you're indirectly affected every single day by this stuff.
yeah, that's a good one. Koff, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a Jag. I want a story centered around either a corner boy or maybe we focus on Freddie and the
Mm.
Dominicans. I want to see the other side
Mm,
of this, where a lot of this season in Mayor of Easttown is about the cops and how they operate. I want to see now more of the opposite side. Um, so yeah, I agree with Jag. Make this more like The Wire, where we get different perspectives of the same problem and maybe the same area or
mhm,
close to the same area, without having the same characters. Maybe we get a one-off cameo where maybe Kathleen pops up again and we see her
mhm,
because she is the head of that local FBI precinct until she gets forcibly retired. Um,
mhm.
but I think we can definitely expand upon this story in this area in a way that's both satisfying and gives us a different perspective.
You could tell Koff's only seen season 1 because he said Corner Boys. That's good though. Like I would like to see the Corner Boys here, or I think it'd be hilarious just to have a season called Kath. There's just like, or she's just up there. She's
Oh, that'd be
I
amazing.
need you to give me the information. Yeah, I need you to give me all the information so when I go up there, I don't look like a smacked ass.
Oh my god. I like both of those takes in terms of what you want next, like seeing the other side, maybe more of the drug side in terms of what this world looks like in Delco, but also something you said too, Jagger, about the media in terms of how does any regular person see this? Like if you were to have a reporter in this area and all of this stuff has been going on and you've got someone that's inquisitive enough and wants to learn more, how does that unravel more secrets of the town? I think that would be a lot of fun as well. So hopefully we get lots of fun stuff because obviously we're all big fans. Guys, let's go around and rate this. Koff, I'll start with you. What are you going to give Task a rating of 1 out of 10?
Ooh, I'll give this a solid 9. I mean, this is a fantastic series, fantastic show. All the characters were believable and captivating. A couple of minor plot points that I wouldn't mind seeing them do a little bit better. Yeah, that's honestly the one major
That's
plot
the
hole
one,
is
man.
like, how do you trust the money? $1 million, $1 million to a crackhead in a backpack.
Yeah.
That's the one part.
Absolutely
I'm like,
not.
if they had found a way to do that a little bit better, yeah, a little bit better, then it's a 10. But this is a fantastic series. If you're watching this and haven't, for whatever reason, seen all of Task, go back and watch all of Task. And if you haven't seen Mayor of Easttown, watch that, because I think that informs a lot of what happened in Task as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree with Koff. Like, this is a generous one. I don't give out a lot of 9s. This is like
Don't.
this is a 9 for me because like
Ooh.
literally my only complaint is that fucking crackhead. That's the only thing I can look at and said, you guys dropped the ball on that one, buddy. It's like, you don't know a lot of crackheads. They'll steal your fucking lighter, homie. It's like, it's just like, you leave $1 million for the crackhead. I don't believe you. But other than that, these are the stories I like, and I'll just piggyback on what Koff said. If you enjoyed this and you're like, what's next? We're watching Welcome to Derry. But if you want something to binge right away, Mayor of Easttown is like the prequel without being direct. It's its own nice little contained story. Go pop that on and watch. Same creator. The other one I'll tell you is The Wire. The Wire has been the blueprint on modern crime stuff, and that's why 1,000 people tell you to go watch it, because like you can't tell me that homeboy who watched Task didn't be like, hey, I could do a white person Wire, and we got that, and I like it. So
I love that. Okay, so we got 9, 9. I'm gonna go 9.5 just because I
You
do
got
agree
to.
with your point that like how does she end up with a backpack of $1 million and she doesn't just run away with it? I'm pretty convinced there was a lot of money and he said take X amount for yourself. Of course, we don't get that level of clarity, but I do agree that like that the middle of the night, this is for you, and then just like runs away like to no consequence. It's a little bit bizarre. So yeah, I'm agreeing.
Scurries off like a
This
little
was an
raccoon
amazing
fuck.
show.
Yeah.
Like a little raccoon effect, yeah. I do feel like this was a fantastic series. The characters and the acting across the board from everyone was just so good, top notch. I feel like a really big debate is going to be just how many nominations does this show get and who walks away, with some level of award. I feel like Mark Ruffalo obviously is going to get plenty of nominations, but I feel like, Tom Pelphrey is going to get plenty of nominations for his role as Robbie as well, because it was just such a pivotal character and they were all so well written. So for me, 9.5, absolutely loved it. Like Jagger said, guys, we've got lots of other stuff for you to check out. And if you haven't watched Mayor of Easttown, go watch that really quick before you binge everything else with us, because it is really freaking good. But next week, we will be starting Welcome to Derry every Monday on YouTube. Cannot wait. You'll all learn to love and maybe hate how much I'm a little bit obsessed with Pennywise. It's going to be a ton of fun. So if you haven't already, make sure you like, subscribe. And like I mentioned earlier, we do give away gift cards. We'll pick out one of you for the top theory in the comments. So make sure you go ahead and leave that as well. Really appreciate y'all tuning in on this episode of Unbinged, and we'll see you next week.